Hey everybody out there, Chris and Mike here, and welcome to another doubleheader weekend. Basically, this is the indie review.
Double.
And right after this review will be coming the regular Big 2 review. It's been a crazy week.
Oh, it has.
It's been a crazy weekend, busy. So we're compiling 2 reviews in one, basically. Not in one video, but in one night. And then we also have our stuff that we're going to be posting on Comic Frontline, so it's going to be a busy night. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
We have 1 book outside of this week, and we've got, other than that, 12 other digital books and
Plus
3 physical copies.
Yep.
So, with that, let's start off with the book that ironically came out last month, January 2014, and that is Argo 5 issue 10. How do you like that, Mike? When we were talking about Argo 5 all this time, in January, issue 10 came out.
Like, Argo 5 is just
I'm upset because this book ends in a cliffhanger. This is the biggest cliffhanger yet from Argo 5. And issue 11's not out yet, I don't believe.
I don't know about that.
So, this is the biggest cliffhanger we get left with. And now we're actually caught up. Yeah. I was hoping for one more issue.
And even in this issue, I liked the series that they were going through. Like all the superheroes were separated into a different universe, and it was all in California. Did you notice that?
I noticed that at the end of the last issue, there was this big doomsday. What was it called again? I want to make sure I got it right. The Apocalypse Project. We all believed that you were left to believe that this Earth or their Earth was going to be destroyed. That it was already set into motion. Then, when you start this book, which this is a heavy dialogue beginning, super heavy, there's a huge explanation that it wasn't their Earth that the apocalypse was set off on. It was a different dimensions Earth. So their Earth was fine, but the person who did it, whose name was Charles Monroe, I believe his name is? Charles Monroe. He stayed on their Earth. So now Argo 5 has to go to that dimension and bring Charles Monroe back in. And arrest him.
To save,
to justice.
You know, and to save their planet.
Because he destroyed that planet, and then 100 years later the planet's inhabitable again, and now he went back to that dimension's Earth. He originally wanted this project, he wanted to set this apocalypse off so that it would thin the numbers on Earth. Instead he destroyed the entire Earth, and there were little pockets of humanity all over the place. And then 100 years later, you know, humanity's back. So Argo 5 goes to this Earth. There was one page that seemed a bit too anime-ish, and it's this one where they're going through the portal.
Yeah.
That was a little too anime-ish for me. I liked the way Gladiatra was drawn, and I liked the way it came off, but it was anime-ish. But then the art goes back to the regular art that we're used to seeing in the book. And each member lands in a different area on that Earth, and they're each met up with superheroes from that Earth, and they want to take them into justice, the Argo 5,
right,
because
and they
they're
wouldn't
strangers.
say from to who. They just
right.
say they just want to take you in, and
right.
it always starts like that.
And every single member of Argo 5 gets taken down one way or another. I thought this person at first was Chain Reaction in that Earth, because he has the same outfit, sort of, or at least the mask, but then again, how many people have the same mask nowadays? So, yeah. So in the end, I'm going to skip all the fighting and how all of them got captured. It turns out these 2 people, Kelly and Kevin, now are rulers of Earth, and they control all the superheroes. Why? Ready for this? Spoiler alert. And I'm saying this because this is the newest book, and if you guys would like to check it out, it came out last month. And if you haven't been keeping up with Argo 5, or you are reading Argo 5, and you haven't read this issue yet, you might not want to hear the spoiler here, but for the sake of review, we're going to say a little bit. There was a genie involved, and this genie grants wishes.
Yep.
And that's how they came into power. And Charles Monroe, I won't say what happened to him. You got to read this book to find out what happened to him. However, Gladiatra somehow gets the genie away from, or the lamp away from Kelly and Kevin. She summons the genie, and everything gets set right. How? Read the book. And then she wants to grant the genie freedom in the end, which is what all of us would do. But the genies are only meant to grant wishes. So he sends them back to their Earth, but instead of the freedom wish, he grants Gladiatrix something else instead. And that's what leaves
That's
you with
what
this
the
humongous
cliffhanger
cliffhanger. I must say this, though. This last page was drawn amazing. I really like the way this last page was drawn.
It was drawn excellent.
And I'm not going to give you guys a cliffhanger because this is the newest book. And I'm going to leave it off here until issue 11 comes out. And then we'll continue from there. And Dan, if you're watching this, and I know you're watching this, Dan, you get that issue out soon because with a cliffhanger like this...
I want to see what happens next.
I need to know what happens next.
That whole thing, I'm like saying... Next, I'm like, you did not just say to be continued. I'm like, no.
To be continued. This was a spectacular book, 5 out of 5 stars. That one
Definitely.
page, I'm not going to hold against the entire book because the book has, I forget how many artists. Let's see how many artists are in this book.
I think there were...
There were several. No, not just
No,
three. No.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of the other one.
Let's see. Art.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 artists in this book.
Oh, close enough.
So there were a lot of artists in this book. I don't know which page. 1, 2.
Well, basically, the artist really drew.
I think this artist only did 1 page. Yeah, the artist only did do 1 page.
Yeah.
So he was the second artist in the list. If you want to know who that is, buy the book and you'll find out who it is.
But definitely, wow.
It was a little anime-ish, but again, the book itself, for 1 page, I'm not gonna put a strike against it because once again it's just them jumping out of the portal, you know, that was sent into the new, and there is reference to what other books, reference to Argo 5 issue number 3, and before that was Argo Comics Anthology issue number 3, 4, and 5. So guys, if you want the full backup story with Dr. Future and the time machine and the machine that allows them to travel into that Earth, then check out Argo Comics Anthology issues 3, 4, and 5 to find out more. And also about the Havoc Patrol.
That too.
So that's why I left all that out, because that's all in this. It explains the entire interdimensional time machine in those 3 issues. Argo 5 is an amazing comic. I couldn't recommend it highly enough. If you haven't already checked it out at argocomics.com. That's ARGO comics.com. You can order every single issue of Argo 5 there, as well as Argo Comics Anthology and any other books that are done by Danson. There's a ton of other series out there on Argo Comics, and I'd highly recommend you guys give a look into a couple of those series. Maybe we'll have some more as time moves forward. If Dan has more series that from Argo Comics he wants us to review.
I would love to read it.
So definitely.
Definitely.
And with that, that's it for the outside of this week. Now we're going into the week of February 5th, 2014.
Yes, and
we're going to start with the physical copies.
Okay.
I'm just bringing this up so we'll be ready.
Okay, so first...
Mike's got all the physicals this week.
Yes. So the first one from Vertigo Comics is Hinterkind issue number 5. What danger lurks ahead after that whole explosion with the gas tanks and what happened last time. They're just trying to find their way out of there, and there's just like really tons of explosions. There was one part of a scene where there was a granddaughter to a grandfather moment where there was this door that was going to be, the fire was coming towards like the 2 guys, and she's just saying we could have saved them, and the grandfather said there was none you could do, it would have killed us, and everybody agrees, but the girl couldn't understand that because she had to think it over a little bit. So there's these chemical gases that are throughout the sector south of the whole place, and they're just trying to get them out of there to find a way they can be safe because they're hostages in there, and the sergeant is really, he is just something else. Like, he just doesn't care or anything because, you know, like, he's just really heartless and everything. And then we get to Starla and the other people are trying to get out, as well as John. I can show you some artwork, which, right here. Artwork looks, it's really all red, just to show that there's, like, real danger. And that's what I like about the artwork, that the red shows that there's danger, and Prosper came to her senses after Grandfather talked to her that there was nothing you can do, and you know, And I like how he says, someday you may have to make a choice that will cost people their lives. And that is, like, that was a real heart-to-heart moment. And there's just, like, a whole bunch of other stuff that leads to a cliffhanger. And then in California, there's Grace talking to Malachi. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, if you want to know what's going on there, like, there's just a whole big thing that's going on where I think her name was, it escapes me at the moment, Princess Tercia. Basically, she wants to take over the throne of I forgot her name already. Grace, because Grace is the queen, and she wants just to overthrow that. But if you want to read more about it, definitely check out this comic book. This is actually pretty good. You know, so I just like the whole danger zone and everything. You know, you get that feel. And here is from Archie Comics of Shadowfall, Part 2 of 4 of Sonic Universe, Shadow Gone Evil. And Shadow has gone evil, but there's a reason why. Last issue we saw that Eclipse made an appearance in this. And here's some artwork, by the way, which is drawn really excellently. And basically Rouge, Omega, and the rest are trying to find where Shadow went. And Shadow and Eclipse have a big fight, and it does relate to the Shadow the Hedgehog game. So for those of you who haven't played the game, you really should. They want to leave Shadow behind as they move forward, but Rouge doesn't want to do that because, you know, like, they're a team together. There's not Team Dark without Shadow. And I like also, like, he's trying to use Chaos Control, and he's trying to figure out, you know, why it's not working. Like, what I like about it is that they're not telling us really, and I think it has something to do with Eclipse stopping him from using the Chaos Control. So he tries to get Shadow to join the Black Arms with a huge splash page right here of all the people who he shouldn't care about because one day they're going to turn on him, and, you know, he tries to snap out of it, but he just gets into the Black Arms, and yeah, things don't look well for Team Dark and the team because they're all coming out and they're using all their powers and everything, and it's now Shadow and Omega who are fighting each other with Rouge trying to figure out what's going on. So things don't look so well for Team Dark. And there's a preview issue for issue number 3. This was...
I like the variant.
Yeah, I was going to say the variant's good. This was almost my book of the week. I will admit that, because the way that they're developing this story about Shadow are ways that I never really, because I really never studied Shadow, are ways I never saw that side of Shadow in an interesting way. And you know he's going to snap out of Eclipse. I mean, we all could see that because sometimes where there's a will, there's a way. Let's just put it that way. But definitely check it out. And Book of the Week from IDW has to go to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Color Classics Volume 2, issue number 4. It's just an amazing issue. Like, every time I read this book, there's not one thing that I see wrong in this book. So, one of the turtles, Michelangelo actually, he is traveling to find his brothers, and he meets up with these people, Tai, Saku, and Toshiro. If I said a name wrong, I apologize. I can't really pronounce names right. So, they're talking about their stories of where they're going on their quests, and so as Michelangelo. And the family run into some danger where Tachi is forced to marry, like he's forcing to marry the daughter because of like all the other stuff. There's lots of action. Michelangelo comes in to try to save them when they were invaded, or when they were attacked actually. And he goes there in disguise as a soldier to try to get in, and they figure out that he's not one of them. And just really like the whole fight scene, the terrific, excellent artwork is just what makes this book really like an enjoyable read. And they meet up with also these two people. I can't remember their names, but they're basically the leaders of the whole thing. And Michelangelo goes to save the princess, which he does. And the way that they got out was a whole, like, it was like a small idea that I didn't even think of how it would escape that. So that really shows how small Michelangelo really is. The princess wanted, the Princess Tai wanted him to stay, but he said he couldn't because he has to return to his adventure. And all this time it was just a story. And I was just laughing at the whole.
I love how he's wearing a Batman.
Yeah, and there was a poster.
Eastman, and there's Star Wars there.
Yeah, and that's the story yet so far. So I really enjoyed this book. Definitely, highly recommend you get the Color Classics. A definite 5 out of 5.
It's a classic TMNT
yeah,
stuff.
It's just classic. You can't get any classic than this. It's just really amazing and adventurous, and I look forward to reading those books each and every single time. Not one disappointment. Let's hope it stays that way because I'm really enjoying it.
Alright, let's go into some digital stuff. I feel bad having you do all the talking, so...
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, good. So we're gonna jump into to Dark Horse.
Yep.
With this book, you read this book, Baltimore Chapel of Bones, issue 2 of 2.
Yes. And
you read the first issue. I remember how it left off.
Yeah, where like, Baltimore comes in and to fight the demon. And he comes in. The artwork of the fight scene was really drawn amazing. And then there's the other scenes where they go back a little bit, but if you want to read that for yourselves, you can. So, Baltimore along with his friends are fighting these demons, and they're just all over the place, and Baltimore saves them because he sees, that he knows how to fight them, because he's done so all his life, Baltimore. And, he just, he just takes them out, just one by one. Even the picture... He just makes a big slash on that picture, and he takes out also the main villain. And if you want to know how, read the book. So then afterwards, he talks to his 3 friends who he was going to meet, and the reason why is that he wants to talk about these things that came, and really, I don't want to really spoil that much because it would kind of ruin the comic book. But it's just so amazingly described, along with his character, and they have to go off somewhere, which I believe that they said, and he takes out his heart because of obvious reasons, and then it jumps forward into time, where months later really, and let's just say that for Baltimore, things are going to get a little bit challenging. And if you want to know what I mean by challenging, yeah, big red eyes in the end is all I'm going to say. Really, it was a great issue, and the fight scene altogether was just well described and definitely well performed. So I really enjoyed that one.
I like this book. 20 Years of Hellboy, Lobster Johnson. I guess this is a one-shot?
Yeah, it looks like a one-shot. Lobster Johnson.
No, part 1 of 5. Get the Lobster, part 1 of 5.
Yeah, and the thing about this book when I read it is that it talks about...
Again, this is the Hellboy universe.
The Hellboy universe, yeah. There are these 2 people who are wrestlers, and one of them is Lobster and... Go up, because I can't remember the name. They want to know in the newspaper who is the Lobster. So, basically, it's...
the Russian Bear.
Yeah, the Russian Bear and the Devil Dwarf. My mistake, not the Lobster, the Devil Dwarf. And they have this big fight scene, and it looks like that it was played because the Russian Bear gets very angry, and he uses the Devil Dwarf to basically shoot and destroy everybody. It's just mayhem and havoc. All hell really has broken loose, and then there's news about that. So they want to know who this lobster person is because they have some past histories that they knew about him. So there's this big layer where they go to where they bring in the devil dwarf, and as they bring him, not the devil dwarf. I mean, they go in to find out some supernatural stuff, while in the city, the devil dwarf and the Russian bear cause havoc in the city. Is what I meant to say. And with all that, the lobster, for the first time, comes in. Lobster Johnson comes in and tries to stop both the Russian bear and devil dwarf. The Russian bear, he was like almost like Juggernaut.
Indestructible.
Like indestructible, like the Juggernaut in this issue. And he tries to take him out by shooting him, and that wouldn't stop him, so there were other ways that he got him, and the Russian bear died. But then there's a question, what happened to Devil Dwarf? And here's the thing of what happened. The police actually took in the Devil Dwarf, well actually Lobster Johnson took in the Devil Dwarf, to the hideout of what I was talking about before. And man, under that mask, boy, what a Devil Dwarf.
To be continued.
And we're going to find out more, I guess, about the Devil Dwarf, because things look very, it just builds that point of what's going to happen next when you read it.
Let's go into Dynamite. I enjoyed this book a bit.
Was this a video game at one time?
Yes, it was.
It was. I thought
Turok, Dinosaur Hunter, issue number 1. I thought this was an okay issue. I went into this remembering the first Turok. Do you remember that comic we had a long time ago with that? It had like an aluminum cover or a 3-dimensional thing on it. It looked just like this cover.
Oh yeah, with the dinosaurs.
It had a hologram.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't know. This is written by, again, Greg Pak. And for those of you that don't know my gripe with Greg Pak right now, I feel that on Superman right now, Greg Pak's not making as much of an impact with his stories, and it's kind of forgettable. And reading this story, it's point A to point B. Apparently, Turok was... his parents murdered somebody in the tribe that he's in. He decides to leave the tribe and live by himself with his parents' totems and this little lizard for a pet. And he keeps getting harassed by one of the chief's nephews or whatever. And they beat him up because he's fishing. And he's not supposed to... he's exiled from the village. He's exiled from being around them. And he tries to, he was fishing, he had a bunch of fish, he tries to beat the guys that are his age up and get away with at least his fish. That doesn't happen. He gets taken into the village. The elders telling him, you know, you need to stop acting like an animal, be like a human, you know, we're giving you a chance to come back. And he doesn't want to. He's like, alone is better. He runs off.
So he's like a lone warrior. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then the people decided to destroy his house, his family, everything. They even killed his animal. And he kind of loses it a bit. And they're like, now let's see if you survive one day. He won't survive one night here. And then he makes like a threat. Like, you'll be dead before... he tells them they'll be dead before nightfall. And they take it as a threat. They chase after him. There's like a little bit of a fight that goes on, and then out of nowhere, these dinosaurs show up, and
very prehistoric too.
It was crazy. The story kind of was all over the place and back again. He was gonna end up killing the people that were harassing him, but instead he killed the dinosaurs and left one of the tribesmen alive instead. And they find that there's a brand on the dinosaurs. Then the village gets attacked by these people. And it turns out that these people were, they claimed the world for England, King John, Lord Jesus Christ, everything like that. It's knights. And then at the end it shows you that it's really, all this is taking place on Manhattan, 1210.
Wow.
So, that was kind of wow, but at the same time, I felt like so much was going on at once. And it was just a complete, like,
it was
they
like
took,
all over the place.
Like, it felt like to me Greg Pak took 2 issues and compressed them into one. It felt like it just went too fast. It went from Turok remembering about his parents and why he was exiled because his parents were murderers, to the elder trying to tell Turok he should be with them, and he's like, no, it's better off alone. You're better off alone. He gets thrown out of the village, and the nephews grudge with him, and then the nephews, 2 out of the 3 die. Dinosaurs show up. The English or the knights have the dinosaurs, and they claim that land for King John, Prince John, and Jesus Christ. It's like, what's going on? Too much is going on at once, and it kind of just ends right there, and it turns out that it's Manhattan. That's the big surprise at the last page.
Yeah.
Average read. I would definitely say if you're a fan of Turok, give it a shot. Me, I'll give the next issue a try, but I feel like so much happened in this issue. It was a good average issue. Let's just leave it at that. It was an average read. Not something to write home to mom about, but at the same time, it was pretty good.
All right.
You passed it. There it is.
I got it. Okay, and from Dynamite,
Spider.
we have Spider.
The Spider, issue number 17. This is your book.
Yeah.
I always think of you when I see the Spider.
Because it really reminds me of the Punisher a little bit.
And he's a spider.
And he's the Spider. So, there's like a big thing that's happening at the supermarket where there's this guy who wants to, rob the store. And the Spider comes in to, of course, save the day. And there's also like lots of things that he looks at with the camera. Like that actually plays a good role in this issue. So there's this thing that's going on at a warehouse, and he wants to find out like this big clan thing. So he goes in and he sees the leader of the clan, which is the guy who he met before. And there's also like really other important things that he finds, and he really gives it to that guy. Like he just makes it like, and then he tells him like who's behind this, and then he finds out who it is, and it's really like all action packed, and it's very dark, as well as every other the Spider comic book, and like it was like lots of dialogue. And he just wants to find out answers immediately, just to stop all this from happening. And he finds it. The guy who he was led to believe was with all this gas mask and everything. Like there was like a lot of gas in it, but he just tries to escape, which he does. And timer.
Okay, let's finish this.
So, long story short, the guy who was behind all this tries to kill him, but the Spider makes it out, and that's how really the book ends. With the next one that's to be concluded.
Yeah, they claim the age of vigilantes is now over, like the Spider.
So, definite read.
Okay, and we're going to continue in 1 second to push up a button, so hang tight and we'll continue. And moving on, we have The Shadow, issue number 22. I actually read through this. This was a nice book. What do you think?
The Shadow,
show the cover.
You said explain the book, so. The Shadow, like, it really is like one of those action-packed books. Like, he's like always trying to like find out like what's going on and how to help prevent it to go further.
This takes place in a forest where there's this tribe of people that are hiding out in the forest, and there's also these people that are basically chopping down the trees. And the tribe is fighting against them to stop them. They don't want to listen. They're going to destroy the forest whether the tribe likes it or not. So the grandfather's kids show up, destroy a bunch of the equipment, and then
unaware that the grandfather knows about it.
The grandfather doesn't know about this. So then the machine people and the army, I believe that guy's from the army or the authority, take the grandfather away and bring him in for questioning. Enters the Shadow later on saying, I've been away for too long. I came here looking for questions, but it seems I've returned just in time to help you guys out. He finds out the story, goes in as the Shadow to save the grandfather and stop the people from destroying the forest. There's huge action there. And then he, of course, continues his quest for the ring.
Right, because the ring is a big mention in this comic book.
But it turns out that the ring is there. So what now? And he's like, I think I'm gonna end up. I think it's time for me to go back to New York.
And that's another book that's to be concluded, just like the Spider. So lots of to be concluded.
I like how the outline here is of the shadow. If you didn't notice.
I know.
I like that.
That was actually pretty cool.
It was a straightforward, quickie issue. And by the way, I left out a book from Dark Horse, so let's actually go back to that before we go into the other books. And that's the Occultist issue number...
Yes, which is my book.
Yeah, but I don't know what issue number it is.
I think it's issue
5.
5, yeah. So the Occultist is... I think his name is Rob, the main character. He's trying to find the sword because... like, that's what his path really was about. And his friends were killed, so he wants to go out for vengeance for Luke and the rest of the people. So, someone betrays him based on this issue, and I don't want to tell you who it is because that was a huge slap to the face to Rob. So, he meets up with this guy. What's his name? Go up. It says it right there.
John Quint?
John Quint, who tells him about... like his past stories, of Rob's past stories, I meant. And it talks a little bit about his stories and all that, and it's kind of a little disturbing. And then there's like these 4 characters that he talks about that are going to be part of the whole thing that happens throughout the book. And can't really see far because the lettering is... what's the name?
Hammond Allen, Gian Sticks, Rick Baker, Aiden Beck, and James Charles.
Yeah, James Charles. That's the only one I remember, really. So, after that, Quinn throws Rob down into the mine, and then Quinn goes into the sword to possess Rob. So, he is now in Rob's body, and he could do all these supernatural stuff, and... they're like saying, no, that's really not Rob, and they're trying to communicate with Rob in his conscious mind, and he's just trying to get out, like trying to yield John out of his body, and they try every which way to do that, and after a while he does, and then he wants to get the power of the sword after John left his body. So he tries to attack the girl, and the girl gets possessed and almost was going to shoot Rob. And then there's like these whole spirits that come out that take John down to hell, I guess, because they take him underground. And basically it's now just, the end of the issue. Everything is now... back to normal. And there's a huge twist at the end of what he does to the girl, which actually kind of brings you like to that Spider-Man moment, like how him and Mary Jane couldn't get together for that reason. That kind of what made me remind me of. And John is in hell, and he gets exactly what he deserves. And
it's the end for now.
It's the end for now, so... I would recommend you get The Occultists. I do recommend it for adult readers, The Occultists, because if you're like those people that are into supernatural or any other types of books, I would say that's the book definitely for you to check out and read.
And there's one last book from Dark Horse that I just found.
Yep.
I really should categorize these a little better. Terminator Salvation, The Final Battle, issue number 3 of 12. There's another Terminator series that's out. They actually advertise it at the end of this book. Let me just get to it really quickly, and then we'll go back up. Gil Simone is doing Tomb Raiders, and he's going to be getting physical copies of that.
Definitely.
The book is coming out this month. It's called Terminator, Enemy of My Enemy. I believe issue 1 comes out this month, February.
Oh, nice.
So, all right, now back to the beginning of this story. So, in the present, they're trying... The doctor is about to be frozen for the future so they can cure her of cancer. And they're still trying to get... Oh, God, what's his name?
I can't Okay.
Simon.
Simon.
And save him because he's supposed to be executed.
And do these car scenes remind you of the Terminator movies?
A little bit. So the Terminators want to save him for their purpose, and the Resistance wants to destroy him, to kill him, to keep the future the way it is, or to prevent the Terminators from taking ahead in the future. So this was action packed. The whole car scenes were amazingly freaking action packed, and that was a fair chunk of the present, the stuff in the present. Also, the Terminator loses half of his face. It's like a default thing with Terminators, I think, nowadays. Well, then we jump into the future for a bit, and I forgot what this guy's name was. Kyle?
Yeah, and it relates to the Skynet war.
Yeah, their war against Skynet, and they find out that there's a base over in Colorado where they're pulling their forces together, but John thought ahead, and actually there was a bomb he left, and it destroys them all, and so the closest base is so far away that by the time they make their final attack on Skynet, it'll be too late. What was his name? Maybe his name is here? No. And then it jumps back to the present where Simon thinks he's safe, finally he's safe, and then it shows you the future for one panel where it's showing the Terminator is all finished. Yeah. It looks identical to Simon. This is going to be really interesting to see how this continues. This was a very huge, action-packed issue, if I do say so myself.
Oh, that was for you.
Don't worry about it for now.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the next one?
Green Hornet, issue number 9. Mark Waid's Green Hornet has been spectacular. So, Reed wanted Lieutenant Edward Dugan in the beginning to work with him as the Green Hornet, and Dugan turned him down. And his wife was dying of cancer and everything like that. And then he decides that not as the Green Hornet, but as himself, Britt Reed, he was going to award him money so that his wife would be taken care of. However, the book opens up with a bunch of death, with him holding a gun and his wife dead. And everybody's like, what's going on? Then we get a scene with the Green Hornet who's still trying to figure out about the whole Nazi thing that's going on, that's been going on in the past couple of issues. And we get a whole side story about what Lieutenant Dugan is doing. Then we go back to the Green Hornet, who's trying to figure out what's been going on for the past couple of issues. And you got the FBI who's looking for the Green Hornet. And at the end of the issue, he's like, we're not going to follow where they say they have just spotted the Green Hornet. We're going to go to his secret hidden lair. And it's like... And it just so much goes on. I don't want to spoil too much. That's the thing, and I'm trying not to. But I feel like you say too much
because it looks like, you know, like basically if you read the book, you'll find out all the answers.
But in the end, Lieutenant Dugan decides to help the Green Hornet, and he has a bunch of people on the police force willing to work with the Green Hornet as well. And then at the end of the book, we find out that last page what really happened with the gun and his wife. And guys, no joke. It even leaves the Green Hornet in the end crying. The story hits him so hard.
But I understand, yeah.
And it was wow. And I can't wait for the next issue. I think that Mark Waid's done a spectacular job with the Green Hornet. I'm loving this series. I'm loving what's going on with it. Looking forward to the next issue. I am not spoiling anything else other than that. You need to be reading this book. Now, before we go into IDW, let's do the one book we have this week from Valiant. And it's your book, actually, because I'm behind a couple issues.
Shadow Man, issue number 15.
I'm not a fan of this artwork. I gotta admit,
What's wrong with the artwork?
I don't know. It's too dark for me. But then again, that's stupid because this is Shadow Man, so I shouldn't be like that.
And basically, what's his name? Something Boniface. Is it Jack Boniface?
Jack.
Yes. Okay. So it talks about how the Shadow Man thing wants to go into Jack Boniface to become Shadow Man. And last issue we found out, what's her name? Like, her father wants her to avenge him because Shadow Man killed
Him.
him. So she wants her. He wants her to do that, and I believe her cousin came in, or something like that, where she once dated a Boniface ancestor related to Jack Boniface, and there's just like a whole big dialogue that they have with each other.
Lot.
So, Jack is just like saying, how did blood get on my hands? Like, what the hell are you doing to me? And the Shadow Man demon saying, this is your job, like this is what you do and everything. And Jack is having a hard time understanding that. And this girl, she's really annoying to me. Like, I don't know even why she's with Jack. So, and one of the men go to the ancestors to try to kill the Boniface ancestry, so that way there won't be any more shadow men lurking around and all that. So, but just going back to Jack, I mean, he gets everything hit so hard to him. It's like everything is like he's like lost and he's confused, and the only way things can make sense to him is if he becomes Shadow Man, and he's trying to find that out, becoming Shadow Man the hard way and all that. And like I said before, they want to kill him. So meanwhile, there was this huge setup where Jack wants to meet up with the girl, and then instead of meeting with the girl, he meets up with the men who want to kill him. And then Shadow Man's like saying, see, I told you can't trust anyone, and then that's how Shadow Man came back.
Mm-hmm.
Just because that he felt that, everything's lies, everyone's lying to you, you shouldn't trust them. I feel bad for Jack, because he's just going through so much in this comic book. And there's this screaming whip that the girl uses that is very effective towards Shadow Man in some way. But really, if you want to find out more details of what happens afterwards, then you've just got to read this comic book. And by the way, the Screaming Whip is what they used for slavery. Just to give you a little briefing of what the Screaming Whip was about. But every time I read this book, I feel bad for him.
Gateway, issue number 2. How was this issue? I remember you talking about it last issue.
Yeah, this book, he meets up with the girl he met in last issue, Jessica, I think her name was. Like, what's the main character's name?
I don't know.
I think it's Jake. Like they talk about down further, Chris. Like when they're talking. But, yeah, they're just talking about, being in this place. Like, they're still trying to figure out, where am I? Like, are we dead or are we alive? Jake, I was right. So Jake and Jessica, they're talking to each other, and of course, there's always love interests in the story. And it goes back in time where Jake and, his friend was there when they were sharing the apartment, and he didn't really, like there's just a little bit of a backstory that they talk about, like him not trusting his friends or anything. And this is what reminded me of, like, a zombie thing. Like, there was like these animals that go out of control, and the reason why is because there are these creatures that are zombies. And you would think that this place that they're in is safe, but to be honest, from what we saw in the last issue with that doctor, yeah, there are zombies, and Jake comes in to save them as well. It gave you like a Walking Dead feel to it. And everyone's like saying, oh my god, like this is just not, like everyone's just freaking out. So Jake wants to leave Hope Town and move on to other places. And they gave a little bit of backstory, a little bit more. So he just wants to leave because after what he saw, things aren't safe in Hope Town. By the way, the artwork is very amazing. I'm just really amazed at the artwork. And we find out about Jessica that she had like these scars on her arms over here.
Yeah, she said she got into a car accident, but he knows that really
that it's suicide. So she wants to cover it so nobody sees it. So he tells the 3 people that found that he's leaving, like saying, "How can you do that? We found you, we did all this and that, and that's what you're gonna do." So he just walks out, and they find out the girl. Jake meets one of his friends that he hasn't seen in a very long time, and he has to go, and he can't say why. There's like a certain rule that you can't have a face-to-face thing, whether it's your friend, family member, or anything else, which is another reason that makes him leave. So Jessica doesn't want him to leave, but he has just no choice. And the authorities, like I said before, find out about the scar on her arm, and that leads into the next issue next month. So
looks like a good series.
It really looks like a good series about the afterlife.
This series, I wasn't too much of a fan of. The next one.
Oh, the Indestructible, really?
Yeah, it's just called Indestructible, issue number 3.
Yeah, Indestructible, issue number 3. To be honest, I really find this to be hilarious. The comic book.
It's hilarious, but it's like one of those books that's like, it's too much. But keep going.
Yeah, but basically, he meets up with someone in the beginning that wants him to Nancy, and they have like this big, huge, long conversation with each other, and she's actually a chiropractor who cracks his back and everything. So meanwhile, there's this woman who one time joined the team, and they kicked her out because of some obvious reasons. So they want her to come back, and she said, "I don't think so," because of the way she was treated. And then we get to his roommate again, trying to do these poses, and there's like just a funny dialogue between those two, and they get into a little bit of a they try to make trouble a little bit with the people that they were playing baseball with, because the guy's training. So yeah, so his sidekick runs away after trying to be all tough and everything. And then there's this one part where I forgot what that little guy's name was. He just wants her to come back to the team, and she's just not really that into it. And then we get to the whole thing about him being a celebrity, with finding out, this guy wants him to find out if he's really that indestructible by having something hit him, just to find out if has that gift.
I did like the whole mother thing, when the mother shows up.
Yeah, about the mother, and saying I always cared about you, because they thought that she cared about his brother or something. And there's a little date that happens, and
let's just say the issue ends with a bang then.
Oh, the issue really does end with a bang, and if you want to find out what that was, I really just don't want to give too much away, because it's not, I want you guys to read it for yourself, because it's just, to me, I think the book is fine. I find nothing wrong.
That's your
but I'm just saying, in my opinion.
This book is my book of the week, and it's Dark Cybertron, chapter number 8, and it is Transformers More Than Meets the Eyes, issue 26. Next week this was from 2 weeks ago. This week we got Robots in Disguise, which is chapter 9, but let's do chapter 8 first. So, chapter 8, we find out that the people inside, the robots inside Metroplex's body are actually Autobots. And Metroplex is alive, sort of. He's dying from a disease, but going to the planet that he's at, under the water, it slows the disease process. Also, Bumblebee has Megatron, and Megatron is the one that wants to basically save Cybertron and his people. And Starscream is still he's the big failure, and it turns out his enemies, basically Prowl and everybody else, want to save the day. So they tell him to get to the medical bay, and they're going to deal with Metroplex. They're going to shoot him. They're going to do whatever they can to try to not Metroplex, the other Titan.
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to read this comic book, so I have no idea what's going on.
Anyway, they're going to fight the Titan that's on Cybertron. I forget his name right now, too. So the Autobots inside of Metroplex want to bring Metroplex back to life, or they're formulating a plan for Metroplex to to go back to Cybertron. We'll get to that in a moment. Back in the Dead universe, however, Optimus and Rodimus Prime and Cyclonus, not Rodimus Prime, Rodimus, are there to save Cup. I love Cup. I love his... For those of you that watched the Transformers movie, you already know Cup's personality. And they're like, can you... You know, they close the gate. They save him. They pick him up, and they're like, can you walk? He's like, I walked before you were created. And stuff like, I love Cup. He's got that, like, grandfather kind of personality, but at this, like, older personality. Not grandfather, older personality. He's like, I'll take anything you can throw at me. And then Cyclonus comes crashing down on him and enters Nova Prime, and finally it's the fight between Optimus and Nova Prime, or Orion Pax and Nova Prime. And then we go back to Metroplex again, and you have the Autobots. They finally figure out that, well, oh god, what's his name figures out what's going on. Why does his name escape me that I have to go all the way back to the beginning just to remember?
Oh, there's an index.
Thank you, God. Ultra Magnus figures out what's going on with Metroplex and why he brought them to him. And they use the Lost Light to give him a little extra boost. And they wake him up. And with his power, he takes the star jump. Or he takes the quantum jump from the Lost Light and makes one final jump back home. While back on Cybertron, nothing good's happening against the Titan at all. They're not able to even make a dent on him. And then at the very end of the issue, Metroplex shows up, and it's the two Titans facing off against each other. And it's spectacular.
And it's to be continued. Why is it always like that in the comics?
And that's where it's to be continued. And this was the biggest cliffhanger thus far in the Transformers chapters. Dark Cybertron chapters. This was and is a spectacular book. Guys, 2014 is the 30th anniversary, not only for Ghostbusters, but for Transformers as well. After Dark Cybertron, we're going to have huge stories coming out of Transformers. Look forward to Mike and I about probably getting physical copies of Transformers as well again. I got to be honest, I love a lot of stuff that's coming out of IDW, from Transformers to everything else. It's just spectacular stuff.
It is, definitely.
And you know it's spectacular when we're willing to jump off of digital and go back to physical. Who knows, by the time we're done with this, we might have physical copies of almost everything we're reading, like Xenoscope and everything else.
Exactly. And
we did miss 2 books from from this week. We will be covering... Actually, no, we did not. We missed books from the week of the 12th, so maybe they'll be here just on time.
Maybe.
So never mind.
Wow.
So anyway, guys, don't forget to check out Comic Related as well as ComicFrontline.com. Together, we are your #1 source for comic related, as well as any other field involving comics, video games, movies, TV, toys,
and
news, reviews, and more.
The awesomeness stuff.
Yes. Comic Frontline launched this past week. We've got tons of content on there already, with tons more to come. It's going to be another big week this week. We had our interview with Patrick Shand. If you guys are interested, go check it out on Comic Frontline. It
wasn't there.
You were working.
I wish
it was spectacular.
There.
We will be talking to him again in July, hopefully, after Grim Fairy Tales issue 100. So, until then, guys, thank you for sticking around. If you want, feel free to leave comments below, questions, comments, series you'd like to recommend to us from any of the companies we read from. Your comments will be heard on this Friday's weekly comic book haul. So, until then, guys, take care, keep reading, keep collecting.
And
see you guys
watching. You always told me that. Hey!
See you guys really soon in the regular comic review, which is going to go up directly after this. So take care, everybody. Keep reading, keep collecting. See you guys really soon in the next review. I got to stop repeating that ending.
Well, I say keep watching.
Yeah. So
yeah.
No, I mean repeating it more than once.
Oh, repeating it more. Yeah, it happens to me too. So.
See you guys in the regular review right after this. So.
Later, guys.
Take care.